bhagavato sāvaka sangho Sāmici patipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Yadidan chattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala Esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho Ahuneyo, Ahuneyo, Dakineyo, Anjali Karaneyo, Anutarang Punya Ketang, Lokasati, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu.
Right. So one thing that I want you to be clear about the first discussion is that the way we think about certain things, the way we perceive certain things, with that perception we have needs and wants, and through these needs and wants we create a desire towards the needs and wants and create another lamination towards this. Okay, so what one person would really desire for, another person wouldn't desire for that same thing. How does that happen? Can we give an example of a drink that you would like to have? A drink that you would like to have? Yeah, yes. Coke. So you like to have Coke. A drink that you don't like to have? Okay. Pomegranate juice. So it doesn't like the juice part of it, the pomegranate juice, and you like the Coke. Now, another person could have a different desire to the same two drinks. Okay. So the pomegranate juice, someone might like that and not like the Coke. Now, I might like the pomegranate juice and not like the Coke. And one person likes the Coke and not the other. How does this happen? Same juice and same soda, same Coke. One person likes and the other person doesn't like. How does that happen? Yes.
There's a thought that's attached to it.
If you could use the mic because then it gets recorded. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Okay.
So when you drink something, and you attach a feeling to the taste,
Yes.
it can, you can either like it or you won't like it, and it's
Exactly.
different for different people.
Exactly. We get attached to this taste and we desire the taste. One person will have a desire towards the Coke. The same Coke, another person will have a dislike towards the Coke. So it's the priority that we give towards the feeling and the taste and the likes and the wants, and we keep actually segregating everything according to what we feel inside. And then we create something like this. We create something in our mind saying, these are the things that I like. These are the brands that I like. These are the attachments that I have. And these are the ideas I value most. Okay. That's how we get attached to these lustful desires in the first place. Every decision that we take towards certain things counts in a completely different way. It has a complete different output in the end. We have a liking towards certain things and disliking towards certain things. But these things are not the problem. It's the mind that we have and the thoughts that we have created, and we create these likes and dislikes in our mind, and we create the attachments and the disadvantages through those attachments. So we need to find a way, how can we take out this desire part, this craving part, this longing part, this wanting part, all throughout our lives, because that is what brings us to this original cause of suffering in the first place. Okay? So, going along in this discussion, now we will try to see the outside world and the inside world. If we just take this as two parts, there's one outside world and one inside world. The outside world was Coke. The inside world was created in my mind. Now, we are first going to see through the rising of the world, this first world, not the outside world, but the inside world, how this inside world is actually formed to begin with. Okay? So, when we go along this way, the rising of the world, it rises in feelings, in attachments. How do we get ourselves attached in the first place? I will say the Pali words as well so that you understand it, or you at least have heard about it. You don't need to memorize any of these things. I will just take you through one by one, how this is actually created. So just have this thought in the back of your mind, okay? Ignorance. This ignorance part comes. Now, we know if we ignore something that is very important, it's going to create a problem. If we ignore something that is actually not really important, it doesn't create a problem. The problem in real life is that we have actually ignored the most important part, and we have actually gone through life ignoring the most important factors of this craving. Because of that, we have suffering. So this ignorance comes through that, avoiding and not knowing and not wanting to know, actually, not wanting to know the real reasons. And we ignore the most important parts, and we keep collecting the unwanted parts. Because of that, an entire chain starts forming. So I will take you through this chain. You will be able to understand it more clearly, how this is all connecting, because it's all connections. It's just one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. It has connections right throughout. So when you ignore what you should actually know, what happens is we start to have formations in our mind, mental formations. Now, mental formations is creation of mind, the creation part of the thought process to begin with. The attachments that we start gathering in our mind, this is the formation that we have. You will understand this better when I go through the system. With this formation, with this collection of information, then we have something called the consciousness. Being conscious. But to be conscious, you need to collect information. So the collection part is actually the formations. We ignore the basic facts of suffering, and then we start collecting with the formations. Because we start collecting, mental formations are coming up, rising. Now, when the mental formations start rising up, depending on the mental formations and the information collected, we have the consciousness. Now, this consciousness, my friends, is something like a computer system. Whatever data we have collected, we keep entering this data. When we keep entering this data, it gets collected to a certain part in the computer, obviously. So this acts like, the consciousness always acts like a gathering machine, an information collection center. This is what it is, the consciousness. So the information that we have collected and we have generated, the consciousness forms into two other sectors, which is called name and form. Now the name and form, I can explain it to you. Do you know what holograms are? Yeah, you know what holograms are? So a person is actually not there, but it is visible as that person is there. That's a hologram as far as I know. I'm trying to give you an example. So how does this hologram start in the first place? There are little light beams which have got collected and collected and collected. Then these little light beams forms a different shape. This shape takes color, and this shape has a voice, has an action, and so on. That's a hologram, right? So what this consciousness does is, it sends out certain signals. It sends out certain light forms, certain rays, light rays. And with this light rays and these formations start to take place as name and form. According to the name, whatever the name, the formation is risen in that. The form is being made, just as a hologram is created. Okay? So, through this hologram effect, actually this name and form is basically a hologram effect, in whichever sense that it can be taken. Now, how does this hologram effect make its shape further? It's with the six senses. These little light beams, these radiant parts, these little cells starts forming. The little cells forms into flesh and blood and nervous systems and bones. Okay? So the entire structure starts building up in the six senses. What are the six senses? Eyes. Then we have sight. Through the ear we have sound. Through the nose we have smell. Through the tongue we have taste. Through the body we have touch. And through the mind we have thoughts. To build these six senses, we first need a hologram effect. That is name and form. Through name and form, first ignorance. Then through this ignorance, we start collecting the data formation. The data formation starts to act as a consciousness. Consciousness creates a hologram effect through the name and shape. This name and shape takes form as in body and mind. This body and mind has different sensing parts and also different types of cells. Cells all come together, it forms a different shape entirely in a different way. If it's human, it takes the form of a human. If it's let's take a Deva form, it takes form of a Deva deity. If it's Brahma, it takes form of a Brahma deity. If it's a dog, it takes form of a dog. Actually, this hologram effect takes into shape. And that particular living being starts to have the eyes, ears, nose, then tongue, body, and mind. And according to the merits collected, these have different shapes and different forms. Okay? So through the 6 senses, the base, then we have the problem starts here. If we only, as I told before, if we only have the 6 senses, then we don't have a problem. But what do? Through our eyes, we see beautiful things. The problem is not with the beautiful things, but the attachment that we have towards the beautiful things. Okay? So, every time our eyes meets with an object and we have a lustful desire towards it, then we have a contact with it. Eye and the contact is made. With the contact, then comes a completely different thing. What do we have? We have feelings. Remember this? The breakup? Okay. So, I and the flower. Knowing the flower and that it's a beautiful flower does not bring us to any conclusions or does not lead us to suffering. But what we have experienced with this, the contact and the feeling that we have generated by looking at this, the remembrance of it, that brings us a problem. The feeling brings us a problem. Why is that? Before Amali knew the guy, this was just a beautiful flower. Okay. So, when she saw this flower, she just acknowledged this as a nice flower. That's what it was. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. But then she had the experience and a bad experience. Then what happened? Then that bad experience turned into a flower, and the flower reminded her of the bad experience. Just like that, all feelings that we have are connected to 3 different ideas, which is a good feeling, a lustful feeling, or a hateful feeling, or a feeling that we always wonder and want more. This wondering and wanting and hoping is also a problem. Why is that? Why does hope create a problem? She sees this, she acknowledges the flower, but the flower reminds her of a breakup, and with this feeling, she has a hope. Maybe one day he will come back to me. Then what happens? The hope in turn brings her suffering as well. Because if he doesn't come back, then it's a suffering. If he comes back, then all is good. But if he comes back and if he keeps changing again, everything changes. He keeps changing, his ideas keep changing, living patterns keeps changing, value systems keeps changing, then we end up in the same problem. You understand that? Okay. We have a computer game. What happens in a computer game? Yes, you go up in levels. First level, you can get through. You want something. You collect the points. And then what happens? You want more points. And then you want more points. And then you want a better game to begin with. You see how these 6 senses, now how does these 6 senses go into the computer game? How is that connected? Can we make the connection? With eyes, we actually see the computer game, the game. Then we feel it, we touch it, we sense it, and with our mind, we have an attachment towards it, we have a desire towards it. This desire, we want to experience more and more and more, so we keep changing from one game to the other, that game to the other, and that game to the other. Minutes are passed, hours are passed, days are passed. Then what happens? Exactly. You get bored with the same game over and over and over and over again. That is the change that I'm actually referring to. Do you understand? Everything that we actually desire and take as a desire, it holds us, this desire part is lasting for a time period, and then it starts deteriorating. It starts going down, just as a computer game. One game which was fine before, which we loved before, which we enjoyed before, after some time, given few months maybe, after that, what happens? This same computer game we get bored with. And then we want a more advanced one. And then what happens with that? What happens? Same process starts. Why is that? The attachment that we have towards it. To have the attachment, we have to have the desire. That's the ignorance. That's the ignorance. That's the ignorance that I was talking about. Now, how does the formations start in this? The same computer game example. We want to do more things with the computer game. We want to go to the next level. That's the formation that the mental creativity that we have. Yes.
For formations, does that mean like when you form opinions on things?
Exactly. When you form opinions on the particular desired item or the desired game, if you're taking a desired game, then we start to form opinions about it. Then we create a value system towards it. 1 minute. We create a value system with the formations. How do we create the value system? Through the consciousness, we create a value system. Okay? When we create this value system through the consciousness, we are already attached to that particular desire through the ignorance. Ignorance is always there. It's forming. It's actually getting more and more. And then what happens? Name and shape takes place in our mind. This is in our mind. First I took the human form. Now in this example, in our mind, it takes shape and form. Why? Because we want to play this game more and more and more and more. Then we use our 6 senses to get more of what we actually want. Days may pass, but we still want more. Then we are, through that contact, we are attached to the feeling of winning. The feeling of losing also is a feeling. The disappointment is also a feeling. The aggregation is also a feeling. Being dissatisfied is also a feeling. And with this disappointment, what do we look for? Another hope. Maybe next time I will win. Maybe on the 5th game I will win. That's the hope. Okay, so this keeps in a cycle. Yes, your question.
What does it mean when ignorance
leads to the creation of mental formations? Is it like when you're ignorant of that lustful desire that it
Yes,
leads
you're
to?
ignorant that this lustful desire will one day end you up in a suffering. That's the problem. Okay.
So that leads to
So
like,
you
creation.
ignore the suffering part and you get attached to the desire part. That's the ignorance. Okay, that's what ignorance means. You actually ignore the most important part of suffering and you get attached to the desirable part. And you think that this desire will actually last. That's what happens to us. Okay? So then what happens? Then we have the feeling. Now the feeling creates the wanting, the need, the craving. The 5th game also I lost. 6th game I will definitely win. Okay. I lost 3 games yesterday, but I won 5 games. I want to win all 8 games the next day. You understand? So what happens is, through this feeling, I will take all these questions in one part. Through these feelings, we create within ourselves, we create the craving. The craving starts forming. The craving starts rising in us. When the craving is risen in us, we always go for the grasping. Why is that? Because there is no end to the craving. That's the problem. We don't see an end in this craving. We get bored of one computer game and we go for the next, and then we go for the next, and then we go for the next. Someone who is very, very much attached to the computer games may end up in a casino one day. Why is that? You actually have the desire to win in a game. It's not the computer game that you were actually attached to. It's the wanting to win part that you were attached to. So the casino also comes end of the line. You understand how one of these can lead to one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. Okay, so then what happens is you start craving for something. When you start craving for something, that craving feeling doesn't actually cease down. It actually builds up and makes you want to keep what you love more and more. That's grasping. It's just not one computer game. I want to get another computer game and another one. When I'm finished with this, then these few days I'm playing with this. And then I'm playing with this. It keeps grasping. We want more and more. This is the collection part we do in life. Okay? Right. Then after that, when you start grasping, you become that. What does that mean? You create habits. You are attached to different habits. Now the habits starts to strengthen within you and it becomes you after some time. I like only these type of phones. Okay. That's how brands are created. You know, the people who do the marketing research, they spend millions on this. Why is that? To find the behavior pattern of the consumer. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Are you guys learning about behavior patterns in marketing, that type of fields? Anybody from that? And the money towards that? A lot. Exactly. Why do marketing people, the companies, want to know what is the behavior pattern of a consumer? Why do they want to know this? Exactly, to make more sales. But why? Why to make more cells? Why do they want to know this behavior pattern? What is engraved in this behavior pattern? It's the ignorance part. Okay? It's what they like. It's what they want. It's what they long for. It's what they crave for. It's what they grasp, and it's what they become in the end. Okay? So to find this chain only, the market research is actually being done. Right? So becoming gives an idea of another birth. Why birth? You always get attached to the wanting part of it, the liking part of it, the desire part of it. This lifetime is not enough to actually go through this entire process and have all of what we want, to enjoy all of what we want. So, another life, another form, another shape, another six senses, right? I need more eyes to behold the most beautiful things. I need another mind to actually absorb all of these things. I need another ear to listen to all the great CDs. I need another nose to feel all the, what's the best perfume you have here, gents? EDT? What do you like? Huh? Calvin Klein. And what do you like? Huh? Same thing. Oh, we have gents and ladies and gents. Okay, what do you like? Gosh, everybody's opting for Calvin Klein then. CK, is it? Okay. Lipsticks? You don't know about lipsticks. Do you have a brand that you like? No? Hmm? Okay. Okay. So we have different things that we have in different ways. How do you get your nails done? Do you have a brand for that as well? Do you like certain nail polishes, certain colors? Do you like certain colors? That's your type of colors? Do you have that? Maybe in Canada we don't have that. I think we only have that in Sri Lanka. Oh, okay. No, that's why I'm asking the colors. Yeah, of course. Yes. No, I don't think the Canada young team doesn't have something like that. Only Sri Lanka has that. Can we be honest? Do you like certain colors? Only certain colors? No. This is just the ladies. I'll get to you. Don't worry about it. I'll get to you. Okay. So the colors. What would be your type of colors? What would be your type of colors? What would you go? Yeah. Cream colors is her type of color. See? What colors would you like? White colors. Okay. What colors would you like at the back? Yeah. Pink, blue colors. So cream colors is one type, white colors is one type, pink colors is one type. Anybody for dark colors? She likes red colors. That's her type. You see how we get attached to different colors and define these colors as my colors and my type and what I like. Okay? And then through these colors, through these attachments, we have different segregations in life as well. Okay? Different things that we get attached to, and through the attachments, what do we create? Wanting more and more? Nail polish, obviously. Okay? Does this last? What do you have to do? For how long does it last? 2 weeks. Wow. It lasts for 2 weeks. So 2 weeks of this particular color, and then what? Huh? Exactly. And then, is it a problem with the nail polish or what you actually perceive? What if someone says, I don't want to have nail polish? What is that? Is that a decision? It is a decision, isn't it? So we have decisions based on what we like and what we don't like, what we desire and what we don't desire. It's always a decision that we make inside within ourselves. Okay? Same goes to you. What do you like? What type of things do you like? Shoes. Jackets? A little bit. But shoes. Shoes mainly. So what type of shoes would you go for? Types.
I don't think it's a,
Is it something called sneakers?
yeah,
Do you like that type of shoes?
like Jordans, Air Jordans,
Oh, okay. Okay. It's a brand.
Yeezys.
Okay. So
Crocs.
you don't like normally those polished shoes that, other. No.
No.
Why is that? Let them answer.
Um,
Why is that?
well, for me, it's because I don't really wear outfits that would require me to wear nice black shoes like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think it's because I've chosen that I don't want to have a job because I don't like, which would require me to wear shoes like that because I don't like office jobs. And I don't like office jobs because I put an idea in my mind that I don't like office jobs.
Exactly. See, the type. That's your type. I would not choose to be in an office, but I would choose to do something else. That is my type. And according to my type, my outfit differs. According to my outfit, my shoes differ. You see how it gets collected? So according to these different types, we actually have different desires, right? Okay. And then it gives us the birth, and through, if something is born, end of the day, what happens? It has to die. Why? That is a universal truth as well. Because everything which is born has a decay, starts to deteriorate, starts to fade out, starts to lose its value, and then it has a death. So this is the origination of actually the dependent origin. Why is it called dependent origin? The origin means the fact, the actual fact. And this actual fact is always depending on something else. It's always depending on something else. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I think we did this part. We'll go through this anyway. I, an visible object, is there, arises with this. Visual consciousness is there, and the feeling towards this visual consciousness, the craving that we have within. When we desire more and more, we go for grasping, wanting more, and then we end up in becoming. This is the link that I wanted to show. This is how everything rises, and this is how it's always dependent on something else. So ignorance is dependent on formations. Formations are dependent on consciousness. Consciousness is dependent on through the consciousness actually forms, is risen, a name and form is risen. And through name and form, 6 senses are based. With this rising comes contact, actually it's contact. Through this it's feeling, and with the rising of the feelings, craving starts to rise as well. With this, grasping is risen, then becoming of that, the birth, and then the decay. Through the decay, it's death. The only problem in this is we don't just die and then end up nowhere. There's always another birth if we haven't broken this chain. What happens? What happened to the person who actually wanted the Benz car and he got a heart attack? What was his last thought, as we discussed? I didn't get to use it. I want to use it. I want to feel it. I want to ride it. I want to experience this. So to experience this, I want another life. Okay. When that starts happening, again, you are in this circle of ignorance. You are in this circle of formations. You are in the circle of consciousness. And then through that name and form, 6 senses, contact, feelings. Through feelings, you always crave, craving, grasping, and then becoming, birth, decay, and then death. But through this death, again what happens is, again the circle starts in another life form. Okay? That's how we end up in this entire mess of suffering. Because we always want more and more and more and more. And when we come to the end of it, we haven't really realized what we want in the first place, which was happiness and calmness. And we looked at happiness and calmness through this entire mess of things in the world, which didn't actually give us this happiness and calmness, and led us to another circle of life, and another circle of life, and another circle of life. Actually, what we have been doing is we have been just going through one part to the other, one part to the other, one part to the other. Okay? This is called the dependent origin of life. Now, why did we first have this? A recap of what I was discussing. Desires and pleasures. These desires and pleasures, we don't have the realization that it actually leads us to disappointment because it's subjected to changes. Now we need to find the escape route to abandon the desire and the craving part of it. For that, we need the cessation of the world, the ceasing of the world. How do we break the chain? How do we actually get out of the system? How do we think out of the box, basically? How do we identify what is really going on in our mind and what our deepest attachments are and how it's formed? So, the ceasing of the world, actually, if one breaks through this ignorance, then formations starts to break. If formations ceases, consciousness starts ceasing. Name and form starts ceasing. 6 senses has no value anymore. That starts ceasing. And then contact starts ceasing. and with contact, feelings starts ceasing. If feelings have already gone down, then craving starts ceasing, grasping starts ceasing, becoming starts ceasing, birth starts ceasing, decay starts ceasing, and death starts ceasing. Now, if we break through the first cycle, that is, when we are dying, if we don't have any more longings, any more wantings, any more cravings, any more grasping, any more of becoming, any more of the ignorance to begin with, then what happens? There's nothing to go forward. You break the cycle of life itself. Do you understand? You break the cycle of life by knowing that craving gives you suffering. So if we can take off the craving part, if we can eliminate what we crave for, the feeling of craving, if we completely detach from it rather than being attached to it, then what happens? Then we cease of becoming another life form, another identity. We don't need another identity because there's nothing to do with another identity. We don't need another pair of eyes because we have no longing to keep on seeing more beautiful things, more and more and more. We don't have that feeling anymore. We lose the attachment towards sound. We hear things, but we don't get attached to the sounds. We see things, but we don't get attached to the visible object. We smell things, but we are not attached to the CK brand. We taste things, but we don't long for the pizza. We feel things, but we don't have an attachment towards the feeling or the touch. We have thoughts, but we are not attached to that certain type of me being myself and wanting to be myself, wanting more and more for myself. You understand that? Okay, so this is ceasing of the world. Ceasing of the world means breaking the chain. Now you understand that you have to break the chain, but how do we break the chain? This is the most important question. How do we break loose? How do we find the escape? That is what we are actually here for. This, what I spoke to you about is actually in the book of Kindred Sayings, volume 2, page 66, the book of Nibbana. It's in the Tripitaka. Okay? All this that what I have been discussing to you about is in different versions of Tripitaka. This is how the dependent origin is activated, and it gives you a description of what I have been talking about. So let's talk about how we actually break this chain later on in the discussion. But I will tell you what happens when you start breaking the chain. What are the benefits that you actually get by breaking this chain? Okay. Now for that, I need some help. Can we have one camera on this? Okay, good. Yes. First, let's take this bottle of Coke. Now, this bottle of Coke it's something like this. When we have all the lustful desires and everything is within us, and we have no way to get it. Or we have got that, but now it's actually coming down and there's a way that we can't get it anymore. So this lustful feelings now is turning into something like the hateful ideas, hateful thoughts. It's actually something like this. When you take this Coke, bottle of Coke, and it's boiling inside, it's boiling more and more and more and more. And one day, can you hold it up so that everybody can see? Okay, right? Different environmental factors and everything which is actually in our mind starts boiling in and boiling in and boiling in. Okay? And then one day it's going to, what does it do? What does it do? Explode. That's what it's going to do. It's an example of how our mind is actually working. Now, when everything starts boiling within us, what happens? It explodes. In life, one day when we explode like this, then what happens? We have to clean up the mess. That's what we need to do. We'll have to clean up the mess one day when it starts boiling up, up, up. We want more and more and more. And finally, we come to the realization we can't have everything that we actually want. And this brings us to a very negative feeling at first. And then we have a lot of hateful feelings and angry with the entire world. And this feeling keeps boiling in us and it explodes. When it explodes, it creates a huge mess. When it creates a huge mess, we will one day have to clean it up. To understand this is a very big point. Now, what if we'll have to clean it up now. We'll actually have to clean it up. Okay. When you start cleaning up this mess, this is a life example I'm giving you. When you start cleaning up this mess and getting rid of all the unwanted things in life, it opens up a completely different value system. Now you have got rid of the mess. See? Now we have got rid of the mess. Just a little bit more to clean up. Okay, attention to me, guys. Let it be. Now, the big mess is being taken off. It's like the Sotapanna Palaya, which is the stream enter. Okay? When you come to this path, the stream enter and the Sotapanna, the stream winner, actually, it's like once you have all these bottled up feelings, these hateful thoughts and ideas and the mess that you have created inside you through the sansaric path, it's actually like having this soda bottle boiled up and bottled up inside. And once this explodes, and once you have the realization of cleaning up, that is just something a little bit like actually being Sotapanna. You get rid of the first mess that you have created, but it's not the end. We have 3 more steps to go. Now, the second step that I'm going to discuss about is like the sparkling water. Okay. Now, there is a little bit of agitation within us. A little bit of agitation. Not as much as before. And let's see what happens with this. Does it create that type of mess? What we saw before? It's a little bit messy, but it's not that messy. Okay? This is what sparkling water does. It's exactly like the second once returner, that's Sakurdagami Pala. And the next person is like a bottle of water. Now what happens? You have to take it up. Nobody can't see it. Okay. Now what happens with this bottle of water? Okay, open it up. The water is there. Now what happens? Nothing happens. It doesn't blow up. It doesn't create a huge mess. But there is some things inside. It's like anagami pala. Some lustful ideas are there. Some hateful ideas are there. Some delusion ideas are there. It's not entirely messy, but it is there. It's like water being there. It's there. It's hidden. It's still there. You haven't got completely rid of it. You're not completely rid of the fact. Okay. The fourth, Arahat. Now, Arahat is something like an empty bottle. The shell of the being is there. The shell of the human form is there. But there's actually no lustful ideas, no hateful thoughts, and no delusions. That's Arahat. Okay? So, you need to become from Coke to sparkling water, okay? From sparkling water to water, and from water to empty. You understand the process of this? Now, when you become empty, what I mean through empty is not having the lustful ideas, not having the hateful thoughts, and not having the delusions. That's empty. But you can think, you can do things, you still have the six senses working, but you don't have lustful, hateful, delusion ideas within you. Okay? That's what we want to be in the end. So how to follow through this path? The mind is naturally pure. The mind is naturally a pure source. What we do is we put the laminations to this. The six senses, it was naturally pure. Remember our slide? Six senses was naturally pure. But with the six senses, we put three laminations called raga, dvesha, moha. Raga is desires and wanting the desires. Dvesha means the hateful ideas. That lamination, we laminated by that. And the third lamination we put to the six senses is the delusion part. Okay. So mind is naturally, it's pure, but we laminated this with three things. That is what causes us the problems. Okay. So what is Nibbana? What is Nirvana? What is calmness completely? The complete satisfaction, the complete calmness, the complete happiness, the complete enlightenment. What is that? It's called Nibbana. Nibbana, how to find Nibbana? The destruction of lust, the destruction of hatred, the destruction of illusion or delusion, friend, is called Nibbana. So when you're completely, if you take away the lust, the hate, and the delusion, that mind has Nibbana. That mind is completely calm. That mind cannot be interfered with anything. That mind is secure. That mind has no other birth. That mind does not go to another cycle. You understand? Okay. So to achieve this, how do we achieve this? It's something like this. Look at this. When we have rain, can we actually see the raindrops? When it's raining, it's difficult, no? It's so fast. The rain, we know it's raining, but we can't actually see the rain because it's so fast. It comes so fast and it comes so suddenly. We can't actually see the rain. We know it's raining, but we can't see the raindrops. But one day, if we can see the rain like this, slow motion, raindrops in slow motion. This is exactly how we need to see the three laminations that we always put into our mind. Why do we have the craving? Why do we grasp? Why do we become? Why do we have the birth in the first place? Is because we are attached. But the problem is we can't see the attachment because it is like the rain. It comes so fast that we can't sense the attachment. When something happens, we scold that person, we shout at that person, we have the hateful feeling towards that person. We can't really focus on what has created this huge mess. But one day, if we can take this rain of delusion, rain of hatred, rain of lustful feelings, if we can turn that rain into this slow motion raindrops where we can actually see how it comes, how it forms, then we can totally get rid of it. Okay? So the next discussion is how to slow motion the raindrops. How are we going to slow motion our thoughts? How are we going to see through the fact of life? How are we going to detach and not get attached? Because attachments brings us, lustful attachments brings us suffering. Okay? So how are we going to do this in practical form? That's what we are going to discuss in the next session. And to do that, we need to learn about meditation. To slow motion this rain which is falling down, the lustful rain which is falling down on us, the hateful rain which is falling down on us, and the delusion of raindrops which we cannot see. For that, we need meditation, and we are going to discuss what this meditation is all about. So, for now, I will stop. Theruvan Saranai. We'll take a lunch break, a good lunch break, and come with a very refreshed mind at 1:30.